The European Commission is discussing with Spanish officials fresh financial support to potentially bolster border force and humanitarian assistance. Tehran's foreign ministry announced that Iran and Oman have agreed on a proposed shipping route through the Strait of Hormuz.
Authorities placed 27 Italian cities on red alert as a blistering heat wave grips Europe.
Hiroshima commemorated the 81st anniversary of the U.S. atomic bombing of the city on Thursday with a ceremony held at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park.
The European Commission has confirmed that discussions between Brussels and Spain were ongoing regarding extra financial support for Ceuta after 72,000 individuals entered the Spanish autonomous city in Morocco last week.
We can actually confirm that yesterday the Commission actually received a first needs assessment from Spain. So we're now really very quickly looking into this document, really to identify the best way we can provide support.
The Commission said the application has not yet been finalized, nor has the amount of funding requested. The amount would be in addition to the 114 million euros of emergency assistance already made available following an extraordinary meeting convened to discuss the migration crisis on Tuesday.
It could cover a range of elements, going first from equipment and services for border management. In view of the current situation, we see the need, and also it could also provide humanitarian assistance and medical assistance.
Spanish officials said on Monday that 70,000 individuals had already returned to Morocco after last week's episode, which resulted in at least 88 deaths. Despite this, up to 5,000 individuals, including 860 unaccompanied minors, have remained, according to the president of Ceuta. NGOs operating in Ceuta say they are not prepared to deal with this type of crisis, adding that many children who arrived are suffering from heat stroke and hunger. Iran and Oman have agreed on a proposed shipping route through the Strait of Hormuz, Tehran's foreign ministry announced on Wednesday. Tehran said the agreement includes technical, legal, security, and environmental points. Official sources told Iranian media that the final touches were being added to the deal and that any reopening of the strait would depend on the United States ending its naval blockade of Iran's ports. U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly insisted Tehran is keen to do a deal to reopen the route to shipping, but Iran denies this and says the U.S. is not involved in the negotiations with Oman. Iran also said that even if an understanding was reached, it would not mean that the strait had become safe for all passing vessels.
Italy's health ministry placed all of its major cities on red alert on Thursday as a blistering heat wave grips Europe. The alerts stretch from Trieste in the northeast to Palermo in Sicily. They signal a health risk for the entire population, not only vulnerable groups. Meanwhile, the temperature reached 41.2 degrees Celsius in Austria, near the Slovak border, the highest ever recorded in the country. It is also facing severe drought, with rainfall levels so far this year far below the long-term average. In neighboring Hungary, prolonged drought and record low water levels on the Danube River have severely affected the country's only nuclear power plant, which relies on river water to cool its reactors. Operators at the Pax plant have reduced output to about 10% of normal production, leading authorities to ask major industrial users and households to cut electricity consumption. Germany also faces growing concerns over the impact of drought on transportation and industry, as water levels on the Rhine and other rivers continue to fall. The heat wave reached its peak across the Balkans on Thursday, as temperatures neared 40 degrees Celsius and authorities battled drought and wildfires. In Serbia, firefighters struggled to contain several blazes after days of dry weather. In neighboring Croatia, tourists in Dubrovnik sought refuge in shade as temperatures soared along the Adriatic coast.
the barge sinking operation has been postponed by 1 day. The reason behind this decision is the safety of the divers involved in this operation. Following the destruction of that Pârjoaia rock formation, the Danube's flow has changed, creating currents that are too strong to carry out a safe controlled sinking.
În urma analizei pe care am realizat-o în această ședință operativă, s-a luat decizia ca operațiunea de scufundare a celor 4 barge să continue începând de mâine dimineață, în condiții de siguranță, în așa fel încât să nu ne prindă seara cu această activitate. Este posibil să fie o suplimentare a bugetului alocat, având în vedere că identificăm noi soluții de intervenție.
The sinking of the barges represent the final stage of the operation that began after the detonation of the Pârjoaia rock. The barges will form an artificial barrier on the Bala-Danube branch with the purpose of diverting more of the Danube's flow toward the Cernavoda nuclear power plant.
Vestea bună este că în toată perioada până la începutul săptămânii viitoare vorbim despre o stabilizare a debitelor de 1400 de metri cub pe secundă. Prognoza indică faptul că am câștigat 2-3 zile în plus pentru menținerea debitelor minime în vederea funcționării centralei de la Cernavoda.
However, experts say that this stabilization is not enough. For the water level to rise by another 10-12 centimeters and extend the safe operation of Cernavoda reactor 2, sinking the 4 barges remains essential.
Hiroshima marked the 81st anniversary of the U.S. atomic bombing of the western Japanese city on Thursday. The city's mayor criticized major powers for waging wars and resorting to nuclear threats. He urged them to stop justifying the possession of nuclear weapons as a method of deterrence.
今年開催された NPT 再検討会議では過去2回に続き成果文書が不採択となりました。その原因は他国に責任を転嫁し自国の行動を正当化する為政者の言動にあります。核兵器の非人道性を軽視し自国の繁栄のための武力行使を認めることは暴力を伴う報復の連鎖を許容し第3の広島、長崎を作り出すことになりかねません。
Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi, who attended the memorial for the first time as Prime Minister, said she will take a realistic approach toward achieving a world where nuclear weapons are never used. The ceremony, however, comes at a time of speculation that Takaichi's government may ease its non-nuclear principles.
我が国は非核三原則を堅持しており、唯一の戦争被爆国として核兵器のない世界の実現に向けた努力をたゆまず続けていく使命を担っています。
The bombing of Hiroshima on the 6th of August in 1945 destroyed the city and killed 140,000 people. A second bomb dropped 3 days later and Nagasaki killed 70,000. Japan surrendered on the 15th of August, ending World War II and Japan's nearly half-century of aggression in Asia.
Ukraine has struck 2 Russian oil refineries hundreds of kilometers from the border in an overnight attack, President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday as Russia hit a train station and commercial ship in Ukraine. According to Zelensky, Ukraine had hit oil refineries in the Bashkortostan and Yaroslav region, about 700 kilometers from the front lines. The attacks were, quote, strengthening the prospects for diplomacy, Zelensky said. The attacks come after Russia's assaults on Kyiv that killed at least 17 people on Wednesday and injured dozens more as Kyiv deals with a shortage of interceptor missiles. Zelensky said later Wednesday that he had spoken to NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte about securing more interceptor missiles. Both sides have been intensifying their long-range attacks in recent months, leading to a jump in civilian deaths. In July, Russian attacks killed at least 377 civilians and wounded some 2,129 others in Ukraine, making it the deadliest month of the invasion since April 2022.
London Metropolitan Police have arrested a 47-year-old woman after 4 men were stabbed in Covent Garden on Wednesday afternoon. Emergency services responded to reports of a violent attack in the busy shopping district at around 12:30 p.m. Paramedics treated 4 men, aged 34, 39, 42, and 52, before transporting them to major trauma centers as a priority. 2 victims remain hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries, while 2 others have been discharged. Witnesses reported seeing police officers deploy tasers to detain the suspect, who was known locally in the area. Officers seized a pair of scissors at the scene. Authorities cordoned off the streets for several hours, with air ambulance crews landing in nearby Trafalgar Square. Detectives confirmed the investigation remains at an early stage, but is currently being treated as a mental health-related incident.
Myanmar's former junta chief Min Aung Hlaing arrived in Bangkok on Thursday for his first visit to Thailand since becoming civilian leader. His visit comes in an effort to improve the country's diplomatic standings and gain political legitimacy after years of isolation. As a general, Hlaing led a 2021 military coup that ousted democratic leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The move triggered a civil war estimated to have killed more than 100,000 people on all sides. Hlaing became Myanmar's president in April following state-managed elections. Since then, Myanmar has been trying to get back onto the diplomatic playing field. While the European Union has excluded Myanmar's leadership from high-level summits since the military coup, Thailand and other regional countries have tried to normalize relations with the country.